Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. I am Eric Hall, your success concierge, and welcome back. It's been a minute since we've been here. As you know, your success concierge has been out and about, traveling the world. I did do an entirely full circle. Went from Dallas around the world back to Dallas again, and it was a great experience. Got to learn a lot, got to see a lot, got to experience a lot. But the main purpose of that is so I can come here and go ahead and add value to you and everyone who does business with me and works with me, such and so forth. So I want to welcome everyone. Today is May 29th. Thank you again for tuning in. We definitely appreciate that. Let me put the Cash App on the screen here because I know individuals may have some questions. You also may want to support the channel. Yeah, I am having a little trouble with this eye here. Occasionally, I don't know, like I like to run outside, exercise outside. So sometimes I get stuff in there and it irritates it. So that's what you see here. But, I want to make sure that I still come here and give you guys value because, again, that's what you're here for. And that's what I'm here for as well, too, to make sure that I'm providing you those different types of things. So that is what we have there. As you know, I was traveling a little bit. I did go to AICI, which stands for Association of Image Consultants International. A great event is where image consultants from all over the world, we learn, we grow, we network, we collaborate, we get new skills, and we see people we hadn't seen in a while, and are presented with different opportunities. So I really enjoyed that opportunity to experience that. That's my first time being active in that. And when I tell you there's a lot that goes into this profession, a lot of what I've been doing has been instinctually. But again, there's a science, and we're definitely going to touch into that. So, the topic for the day, I did have on black and blue for the colors, but also black because some are calling it the death of that. But I also wanted to go with this particular nostalgic fragrance, Bond Number Nine Queens. This is a champagne fragrance. Champagne is a rare flower, so I do enjoy that. This is good for a warmer time of the year. Um, this is not really signature scent worthy because it's not as versatile as you like. So office, evening, potentially date night, definitely for the grown and sexy as well too. But this is something I really enjoy because it's relaxing as well as for refreshing. So that is our scent of the day, Bond Number Nine Queens. And as you know, I am Eric Hall, your success concierge, to help individuals and businesses put themselves in position to get their desired outcomes by maximizing the ABCDs of image, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And when you don't make a good first impression, your opportunities go somewhere else, and we don't want that. So definitely connect with me, and so we can definitely help you with that. But let's see what's going on in the chat today before we definitely jump into the topic, because I appreciate everyone coming in tonight. I don't want to hold you long. Just going to do what we need to do and share the information that we need to share. I see Mr. Nice Mobley. Welcome. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you, everyone who will tune in here on the replay. All right, so let's get into the topic of the day. It's called Broken Hearted, but really, it's about brand psychology. All right, and so here, what I do, I talk about branding, I talk about congruence, all these type of things. You say, as an image consultant, why is brand psychology or branding important? I'm glad you asked that. Well, one of the things that's important is being in congruence. How you, when people think of you, when they think of your brand, certain brands, they have an association with that, whether it's Nike, whether it's the Los Angeles Lakers, the New York Yankees, Manchester United, United States, like all these companies, images, locations, people, they have ideas associated with that. And oftentimes that is affected by, psychology. There's neuroscience involved with that. So when you think of Apple, you think of Nike, you think of things that offer products and services that you must have or that you enjoy, that you follow, Beyonce, people like that, there is a brand psychology whether they may use consciously or subconsciously. But I want you to think about these things that we're going to discuss and how you can incorporate and implement that. And that's one of the reasons why you work with the image consultants, because we don't just focus on the look or the appearance, we focus on the behavior and the communication. And that is one of the key precursors of brand psychology, as well as digital footprint. And so that's how we come to our case study for today. We're going to be talking about Southwest Airlines. We're going to jump right into this right here. Let's see here. Let me get my screen up and make sure that I'm able to share and present. And let me take that part off. You can still send me messages as well too. No, let's see here. Hide that. Okay. You can still send me messages as well, and I will get to your questions. Let's share this here, and I will definitely want to make sure that I am able to move my screen backwards and forwards here. Let's see here. So we have that. Let's see. Let me check here. Go forward, go back. Does it work? Give me 1 second. All right. Looks like it's working. Let me go ahead and take a sip here. So I am Eric Hall, your success concierge, and today we're going to be talking about brand psychology, and we're going to be doing a case study on Southwest Airlines. And as you see on the screen, the title is Broken Hearted. So let's get started. So a couple things right here. Everything that I do in here is based on public information, as well as images and information. A lot of it was sourced from Forbes, the Southwest Airlines website, and other sources. So I'm giving them their credit as well too. But we're going to go ahead and dive right into this. Today is May 29th, 2025. Depending on when you are, the news broke yesterday, or not necessarily broke yesterday. There is a major change and shift in Southwest policies. They started implementing those changes that went into effect yesterday. And so now we're in a new era of Southwest, and we're going to talk about how it started, the psychology, and maybe some tips and lessons that we can learn as it relates to that. All right. So how it started. So it was founded in 1966 with Herb Kelleher and Roland King. They were sitting down in a restaurant looking at different ways to get in, well, move aircraft and do things as that nature. So they were in San Antonio when it started. So they incorporated Air Southwest Co. in 1967. But they initially saw opportunity to operate as an interstate airline, and that's going to do the Texas Triangle, being able to have flights daily. I think they were going to have 12 weekly initially from Dallas to Houston, and then also Dallas to San Antonio. And so, because they were only flying in Texas, they were exempt from a lot of federal avionics rules, and that allowed them to undercut competitors. Now, if you've ever been to Dallas, they have two airports. They have Dallas Love Field as well as Dallas Fort Worth International Airport. Now, a lot of airlines were moving from Love Field to DFW. They had planned to do this move before Southwest even came into existence, but as a result, Southwest has been the anchor at Love Field, and I just saw they recently signed a lease extension that's going to carry them there till at least 2040. All right. And so a lot of airlines were trying to sue them to keep them from, being able to operate in that area, just because of their being able to undercut competitors, and because of that, all the rules did not apply to them. Now they changed their name to Southwest Airlines in 1971, and they began to fly to other cities outside in Texas in 1975. This is one of the old original planes there, and then they began flying to other states next to Texas with the Airline Deregulation Act of 1979. So in the 90s, they started going east and southeast, as well as 2006, they went to Denver. They acquired AirTran. And one thing that's unique about Southwest prior to COVID, which is 2020, they were profitable every single year. To that point and to the current point, they're the only ones who have never filed bankruptcy. And so they had a very interesting strategy. They had what they call a rolling hub system. Other airlines use a hub and spoke. So what that means is most other airlines, they either have a starting point or ending point at a hub, one of the hubs. So this allowed them to, change planes, change crews, do all those things that they need to do, where Southwest had a rolling hub system. And so currently they fly over 100 destinations, 42 states, Puerto Rico, Mexico, Central America, and the Caribbean. And as I said, they have a rolling hub, so they don't have a real hub, but they have airports that serve as, destinations. So if they find an airport that people want to go to, they start flying out of that one or to that one specifically to obtain routes to that location. One of the things that's unique about them, and you could say is to their advantage or disadvantage, understanding what's going on with them now, they wanted to have a single type of aircraft. They use Boeing, and that made it easier for maintenance. So you could have, a surplus of parts, so you could have easily fixed. The pilots and the flight attendants didn't have to learn a lot of different types of aircraft, and then it reduced operating and training costs, training time as well too, because everything was uniform with that airline. So prior to the recent changes, Southwest they had only economy class, no business class or first class, and they had what they call the open seating policy. So as you see up here in the top right, they had three groups: A, B, and C, and the groups were numbered 1 through 60. So depending on where you fell into that, that would be your boarding position, and then you could sit wherever you wanted to sit. Now, one thing about MythBusters, they did a study and they showed that that was the fastest method to board, and it's 10 minutes. Average time 10 minutes faster than other boarding principles or other boarding methods. And also, too, Southwest had free bags, so those two things helped them turn around planes quickly because their strategy was to get the plane changed and in the air as much as possible, as quickly as possible as well, too. So these are some of the staples that attracted and drew people in to Southwest. Now, like any other airline, they had a frequent flyer program. They started in 1987, called Company Club, and they renamed it Rapid Rewards. But initially, you got 1 credit per every one-way flight. So if you went somewhere and went back, that would be 1 credit each way. So 2 credits. And when you accumulate 16 credits over a 24-month period, you got one free round trip ticket. That was good for 12 months or 1 year. All right. And then in March 2011, they went to a points-based system, and it would be based on the type of ticket and the fare, and there would be multipliers based on that. October 2019, they made it so points do not expire as long as the member is alive. That was the policy up to that point. I don't know if there will be changes to that. But from an employee standpoint, Southwest believed that if you took care of your employees and make the experience them, they would then turn around and serve their customers. So you see down here in the lower right hand corner, all the employees are putting their hand on the symbol, which is the heart. And so it was a very family oriented work environment. I did spend some time there working in the past, and they would have deck parties every Monday where everyone in the corporate office would get together. The evening time they had different themes and food prizes, and you could actually be close and talk and chat with the CEO. Due to this environment as well too, you had a 5% turnover. I recently met someone who retired from Southwest Airlines, so he had a long tenure there. But prior to recently in 2025, they never laid off or furloughed employees up until earlier this year, February 2025. Even with COVID, they had decided they were going to do that, but then they ended up not doing that. Southwest has had a profit sharing company. As I stated, they've been profitable every year. They've been in business with the exception of 2020, which is the COVID year, where there are a lot of lockdowns, and they've been paying out profit sharing, which make the employees happy. And because of this morale too, there have been times when there has been fuel crisis and fuel prices, and with high fuel costs. And one of the things that the employees did and they were able to do is they contributed $10 per paycheck, a little bit here, a little bit there, and help Southwest purchase fuel to offset some of that cost, and again continue to allow them to be very, very profitable over the course of that time. In 2011, they acquired AirTran. This was huge. It gave them access to hubs in Atlanta, DC, and other small markets. Also, it turned Southwest into an international airline as they were able to now have flights in Caribbean, Mexico, South America, uh, those locations. And another major point for this, not just the routes, but the type of aircraft, because AirTran also used Boeing aircraft, again, from that principle where it stated that they like to use the same type of aircraft for maintenance training and reduction of cost. All right. But let's look at some of the business trends. So you see, just over the last 10 years, we don't have numbers for 2025 yet, or because we're still in it. But you see, they were very, very profitable. One thing here, they had their first loss during COVID here, and they had a kind of a bounce back in 2021. Around that time, I think people were, ready to get back outside and go travel and do different types of things. But you see, 2022, 2023, 2024, although they were profitable, they did not have have the level of growth that they had, even though the passenger count was at all time highs as well too. All right. And you see their aircraft numbers increased as well too. So this is interesting because they had the December holiday meltdown, which I experienced. Uh, it was called Tropical Storm or Winter Storm Elliott, which if you know who acquired them now, Elliott is also who acquired them as well too. But on that particular time, there was a winter storm. They showed earlier that temperature went from 40 to like 6 degrees in a matter of an hour, and it caused severe flight delays and cancellations. Now, this affected Southwest because of how they managed and moved their staff. Their system was kind of delayed and behind, and it just really couldn't accommodate that. And a lot of their maintenance, like the de-icing, that was done by their own employees, so it wasn't contracted out to the airport. And then because of the conditions, they had to change out manpower as well too, because their de-icer was open to the elements. But as a result, there were many cancellations, not just on Southwest, but other airlines as well too. But Southwest was hit really, really hard for the reasons I had, inadequate staffing, and then their software for putting new people here and there to fulfill those routes, it was not up to par. And so on December 26th, a very special day for those who know me, um, they performed a massive system reset. And what it did was it canceled a lot of flights preemptively. And also, too, it halted ticket sales because they didn't want customers purchasing flights that would ultimately be canceled. So, former Department of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, as well as other federal agencies, they had a formal investigation. And as a result of that, in 2023, Southwest settled on a record fine of $140 million. That's the largest ever imposed by the agency. And just because of different losses and not just a fine, they reported a $1.1 billion loss just from this particular incident in and of itself. So in comes Elliott Investment Group. They bought a $1.9 billion stake in Southwest Airlines, and they consider themselves an activist investor. They want to impact, and private equity is a lot different than other types of investors. They want growth, and they want high return on investment, and they want return on investment quickly. And so they implement policies, they implement strategies, they kind of move their weight around. And so Elliott negotiated 5, 6 members of the board, which gave them almost a majority. And so they only had to um, influence a few others. And that's what they were working to do to show, it's a back and forth battle to show that the current leadership is not up to par, up to snuff. So that is Paul Singer, reminds me of the architect in the Matrix, for those of you who have seen that. But some of the disadvantages or challenges that private equity groups have, especially as it relates to a company that like Southwest that is publicly traded, they don't have access to non-public proprietary information. And as I stated, the goal of a lot of these companies is to make a profit. Sometimes they sell out parts of business, or generate value for shareholders in a number of different areas. So you see some of the things that Elliott Group has. Quite a few. I know they have Starbucks. They're looking at buying into some oil as well too. But one of the challenges for groups right here is they don't necessarily understand the business because they're outsiders, and they may not understand the different relationships that they have with customers as well as employees. They focus solely on the bottom line, and we're going to see a little bit more about that going forward. So this is some of the policy changes that they've implemented in trying to be more profitable. As I stated, the bag freeze, they ended yesterday for flights booked from today forward. There are no more bag fees for general passengers. Business select customers, A-list preferred customers, they will still receive 2 free check bags. A-list customers and rapid reward credit card holders, they're going to receive 1 check bag free. Everyone else, they're going to pay $35 for the first bag and $45 for the second bag. So that's a major change there. Then the fare structure, they're going to have choice, extra choice, preferred choice, and basic. And so the one a getaway fare is basically branded basic economy. Anybody has seen basic economy with other airlines, it's bare bones. You don't get to make changes. You don't get a lot of other perks or benefits with that. And I remember being part of the industry when they were changed to that. And you have people who will accept that bare bones, but then the goal actually is people to be saying, "Oh, I want to get more benefits, so you're going to pay more." Also stated the new seating policy. So 2020, I know it's starting now. Is going to be with some aircraft that's been reconfigured, but the open seating policy is going to be eliminated officially in 2026 for airline wide, and so they're going to have new seats that have extra leg room. The result of that is passengers will lose an inch who are not one of those seats will lose an inch of leg room, and then passengers will be able to select their seats at the time of booking, depending on if they pay more, their status, and some other factors that can determine that. And then points and flight credits. So now flight credits will, depending on the type of ticket that you have, your flight credits will expire 6 months or 12 months before they didn't expire. So now they expire in that time frame. And then the way you accumulate rewards points, that's been greatly reduced depending on the type of fare you in. So you have to get the most expensive fare in order to fare type in order to reap the full benefits of that. Everyone else has all the other fares have had their fares reduced. And another change, which has been in effect for quite a few months now. Southwest used to be exclusively you had to book on their app or on their website. Now you can find them on other booking sites, which allows you, good or bad, to compare their rates to other rates from other carriers as well too. So let's talk about the impact of that. All right. So we see you up here. You have the bag policy. These are some of the fare changes, and then they're called what they call premium seating. And so these are some things that customers who travel Southwest or consider traveling Southwest, they have to consider that they didn't have to consider before. So one thing is cost for the passengers. They'll now have to budget for check bags, also seating for group and family passengers. So in the open seating, they had family boarding, they had families who could sit together. And I know not having that option help families reduce a lot of costs with that because again, selecting seats, there's always been a cost associated with that. Then also to how they book their fares, because now the various fares have more restrictions and benefits. So you have to be mindful of that when you're booking to make sure, like if you want to change, you want to cancel, you want a little bit more flexibility, that you do select the fare that will accommodate you and that price range. And then again, the seating arrangement. This was huge for a lot of business travelers because sometimes business travelers book and travel last minute. With the open seating policy, with them typically having higher status, they were able to get that aisle or window seat that they typically wanted, or if they needed, some of that longer leg room, they were able to get those seats because they did have priority boarding because those tickets were not pre-sold. But here's some interesting things about risk. Now, I did put this delay here because it's a little bit extreme, but um, that with more people carrying on bags and less incentive for people to board early or arrive early because your seat is already assigned, that may impact the turnaround time. And Southwest model was built on getting people in and out as quickly as possible. All right. Then also too, there's a study that said Southwest would gain 1.5 billion in revenue, but at the same time they'll lose 1.8 billion dollar well revenue from the bag fees, but they'll lose 1.8 billion in customer attrition, and that's why I put this picture here of the empty seats. But let's talk about the psychology that goes along with being in the brand. So it's a couple areas here, and a couple main areas, and then I did do some addendums on that. But there's a couple things. So we got neuroplasticity, and so it's really the brain, rewrites itself and gets a level of comfort, and that's how it functions and gets into a pattern of doing things. Mirror neurons, that's how you have empathy. And what that means is you see other individuals having a great experience, then that makes you have a great experience, or that's the theory as well too. So just like if you see someone smiling, chances are you'll smile as well too. It's just a natural thing there. And then emotional brain, it drives, based on your memory. That's how you make your decisions. The dopamine reward, so that's the motivation that gives you the prize for doing a certain activity, and you anticipate the fun, the pleasure, the benefit of those type of things. And then the predictive brain is based on past experiences, that you think that it will be the same going forward. All right. Now, with these changes, a lot of this has been thrown a monkey wrench into. And so, not just from the standpoint of what numbers say other airlines are doing, we're talking about specifically for Southwest Airlines and their policies. So, neuroplasticity is all about habit forming. So, now the way you book, that's changing. That's no longer the same. And now booking is now open to the public, not open to the public, it's in the public square where you can compare other rates and other fares. And so now your loyalty may be in your pocketbook more so than the other benefits that are removed or previously removed. Budgeting, as I stated earlier, you have to budget more for your potential bag fees as well as seating fees. Boarding, we talked about that in a sense that it's no longer first come, first serve. It's going to be based on, well, you have an assigned seat. So the motivation may change a little bit, and people, because of now they're having bag fees, they're going to bring on more carry-ons. And even airlines and even Southwest as well too, they will see that they're always asking for volunteers for people to check, which again slows things down. And then when you're planning, because some individuals were loyal to Southwest, they, myself included, sometimes they would take a little bit longer route to get somewhere just because there was the other benefits, cost saves as well too. And then if you're traveling business or group, you have to plan and accommodate for seats and such and so forth. And then let's talk about the mirror neurons connecting through empathy. Now, what happens is, like, customers have changed the way they feel towards the brand. There's a lot of distrust because last year they talked about um, these policies wouldn't be going away, like free bags weren't, and they changed that. They've changed some of the other things that people know, like, and love about the airline, and so that is a trust issue, and that mirrors throughout. You see a lot of different things online where people are mentioning that. All right, and then enjoyment of the experience. So this is a totally different experience. Uh, and people would came to Southwest for a different experience, and they're no longer going to get that. So will they enjoy it as much as they did in the past? All these type of things are going to affect that. And then the emotional brain, and that's you decide through emotions. And I had this picture, emotional damage. So the brand is no longer what they remembered. Bob Jordan, the CEO, stated, well, we're not just bag fly free, and we're not just this, we're an airline that adds value. um, I would think your customers would disagree with that, and even your own studies show that people associate free bags with your airline. And then again, not a lot of people are happy with the changes because we'll talk about that. Do they feel like these changes actually benefit them or make their experience a little bit better? Then we definitely have the dopamine reward, at least from the standpoint of points. Those expire, you get fewer of them, and so there are fewer benefits that you were getting before. So that joy and that experience is gone. And then for me and a lot of other people, they would get there early to get in line because they wanted to get the seat they desired. Now, it's just like any other boarding experience. So you'll get there, but there will be no urgency for that, which again, that will affect the turnaround time. All right, and then the predictive brain. So I'll put this picture of a bridge because the bridge is there and then it's down. So predictive brain, the brain loves patterns, but also it notices when the patterns are broken. So Southwest broke a lot of patterns from bags, boarding, uh, point accumulation, and differentiation from other airlines. They no longer have that outside of is their price the best price. And one thing that I've always discovered, you get someone on price, you're going to lose someone on price. So now they no longer have become the comforting, predictable experience that people have had in the past since Southwest has been around. But these are some other things as well too. Loss aversion. So people feel a loss two times more equivalent than the gain. So you value something more that you have than the exact same thing that you don't have. So, for example, you may have a car just like someone else's car, but you like it because it's your car. That you value it more versus just some random car just like yours that's not yours, right? So that's psychological thing. So these benefits that people are losing, that's gonna impact them more than what they stand to gain, and they haven't really at this point differentiated what they really have to gain. Then brand consistency, I put the I in consistency. Um, but people are more likely to trust people and businesses that behave in a consistent manner. So for 40 plus years, almost 50 years, Southwest has been consistent in this behavior. Now they're no longer consistent in that behavior. So people have to have new patterns. Remember, the pattern was broken. And so that creates a lot of distrust, not just from a behavior standpoint, but also from the words and promises and things that was made to those individuals. So loss of bag flying free, that creates more cognitive dissonance than just the fee itself that you're doing because someone else is charging that. And then the anchor is gone, right? So that's why the anchor is up here. You don't have anything to hold them or tie them to that location. So customers were anchored to Southwest as a no fee airline. And another thing psychologically is how things are viewed. So, for example, I know other airlines charge $35, or excuse me, charge a bag fee. But for example, going from 0 to 35 is extreme in the negative as it relates to Southwest because you feel like, oh, I'm losing this. But let's just say another airline went from 60 to 35, then that would be a gain. All right. And so, but Southwest, they with them doing this, they broke trust and broke the expectations that people have. So, just some of the feedback you see right here: flies furious over Southwest new policies. They these are some of the things they're saying. Just another airline. Uh, there's been articles saying this is the death of Southwest. People are canceling their Southwest credit card. They were saying we were lied to, and there is no reason to fly that airline exclusively, as they are just like other airlines. And some of the corporate responses, Southwest said, okay, we're gonna if you have our credit card, you will still receive some of the benefits. Now, credit cards, private level credit cards like this, they do. And have high profitability for brands that have them. That's why they do it. And these are some other things. They have a partnership with Iceland Air. They fly to certain parts of Europe. That's their first outside brand partnership. Some of the things they're doing online is they're posting feel good stories, like people returning their glasses or finding their dog or someone uh, giving them their phone, going above and beyond, and they're trying to say, well, we're doing what other airlines are doing. But this is the challenges right here. Like I have this picture right here of the sharks in the water because other airline CEOs are salivating because the customers are up for grabs. They have to find a way to differentiate from other airlines, and that's a bit of a challenge because at one point Southwest was the fifth largest airline, and but that may change. Also, too, because again we say the competitive advantage is gone, so they've already dropped certain routes and they may continue to do so. and they just have to rebrand. They have to find another unique selling proposition that would draw customers in. I know some people, they're going to be there because that's the only airport in their location, or they're the only ones who go that route, or those type of things. But will you get the casual traveler? All right. But these are some predictions I see. I predict, possibly they're going to have stagnant growth. They may be doing some of these things to have a merger or acquire or be acquired with another airline, and they may have their first bankruptcy filing. Southwest Airlines is the only airline, the major airline, that has never filed bankruptcy. But these are some lessons that we can learn. You don't break trust. Uh, the free bag policy was more than a policy; it was an identity, despite what Bob Jordan says. And then you have to understand your customers' mental models. Changing certain things will affect the entire relationship, not just a specific transaction. And then you have to understand and identify the full cost of the change. They did get a story or a study that said you're going to lose 300 million even though you gain 1.5 billion, but they decided to ignore that. So we'll see how that plays out. But that is my case study on Southwest Airlines. I am Eric Hall, your success concierge, providing you the vision, tools, and opportunity for your desired success. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for tuning into this portion of our video, our case study. Thank you again. All right. So let's see what else is going on here. That was a very thorough and interesting assessment that I had to do. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. I thank everyone for tuning in. And just from my personal experience, I enjoyed Southwest. I started flying them when they started. Then when they acquired Airtron, so they start going to some of their routes that I consistently go to, and I've enjoyed them. It's going to be open market. Everyone can compete for my business now, and so I'm going to make the best choice for me. Not emotional because they've changed their dynamics, and so I encourage others to do the same. Do what's best for you. But let's see what we got going on in the chat here. See if we have any questions. For that, let me take a sip of the water here. And also, too, let me put the link up here. I know this was actually some people asked me to do this particular case study. That's why I did it. It's been on the horizon because I've made comments on it, and I wanted to wait a little bit to get as much information about that before I dove into that. But definitely put the link up here in the chat. You can come on chat in as well as get your questions answered because you know how we do here. It's definitely been a minute. Good to be back. And so we're going to dive right into your questions. All right. So, question number one: how was the trip? The trip was very good. I enjoyed the places. So, for example, as you know, I went to Morocco. Morocco is somewhere that I've wanted to go for a long time. A lot of people may or may not know the history, but Morocco was the first nation to recognize the United States as a nation. They still have the oldest freestanding treaty. I want to say it was signed in 1863, 1893, something like that. But it is the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, and it's still in effect to this day. So I did get to go do that, Egypt, and then also too, I went to brief stop in Saudi, and my image consulting conference in Manila. So I do enjoy learning different cultures, different things. So it was definitely a great experience. It was long, it was tiring, but I did enjoy it. So thank you again for that. Let's see what else we got here. And okay. Okay, so what stood out to you most about the image consulting conference? A lot stood out to me because again, so for me, I was doing a lot of stuff just because I recognize patterns. There are things that I'm good at, and so I was able to do very, very well with that. But there are some things that are scientific. There are things, methodologies, so you can be more specific. No different than if you have someone who's a talented athlete, a talented singer, a talented cook, and that individual then goes and gets some formal training, then they enhance or magnify their skills. So that's kind of what I did as well too. And then being able to learn about the various opportunities. the various things that you can do. With a lot of people, when they think about image consulting, they just think of, oh, I just deal with clothes, but or I just deal with people. But there's that for businesses. A PR person would, image consultant could be a PR person. They could be a branding specialist. All these different types of things outside of just being an image consultant who deals with people, style, such and so forth. So definitely a great question. I definitely appreciate that. Let's see what else we got going on here. Yeah, here y'all go. Here y'all go. What what are your thoughts on the Diddy trial since you did a case study on him? Well, the Diddy trial is a federal trial, so with that being said, there are no cameras in the courtroom. There has been some very interesting testimony that's come out, but I mean, again, I just deal with what is. So we'll see how the trial concludes one way or the other. You have individuals like AV to Seven Power, lead attorney, two people I'm really cool with, and so they do and provide legal analysis. But again, from my perspective, I deal with what type of outcome. So I don't know what's going to happen with him, whether he's going to be one way or the trial or the other. So then we can talk about what advice or what not I would give in that particular situation. Either way, there's going to need to be a brand and image rehab. One thing that we have seen is there are a lot of people who did videos with Diddy, and I'm talking about musical artists now. There are a lot of people who hung out with him, did other type of things. You don't see him, so I don't know how those relationships are. He had a different type of businesses and brands. I don't know how those relationships are and how they will be going forward. But it's definitely going to be an uphill battle. It's a lot of work to be done for that, one way or the other, whether it goes leads to conviction or leads to acquittal. But yeah, it's a lot of work to be done. So I will be following that once that's done. And I like to look at different types of things just so I can learn and see how I would handle various situations. One thing when I see people out and about, I look and say, okay, how would I style them? How would I market this or brand that? I'm always doing those type of calculations and thought processes in my head. So definitely something that we shall look at. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay, this is an interesting question right here. How do you feel about changing hair color to change your look? Okay, so two things, right? So, there are people who change their hair color on a more permanent basis, and then people who change it temporarily, whether that's like with wigs, hair pieces, such and so forth. These type of things matter. So, one thing I've been learning is about colors and how that impacts people, their seasons, such and so forth. So, with that, when you change your hair color, you could potentially change. Whether you have cool season, warm season, summer, winter, spring, autumn, those type of things. And so what happens is sometimes people make a dramatic change to their hair color, whether it's the hair on the head or their facial hair for the gentleman, without adjusting their wardrobe, and that could create potential challenges. So what I would recommend is someone who wants to change and look at that. Let's talk about, is this going to be a temporary change, or is it going to be a more long-term permanent change? And then how do we match your wardrobe, your makeup, all those type of things to accommodate that change? All those things are taken into consideration. That's another thing that I learned just about doing color, how that impacts that. For me, I would always say, okay, based on my skin tone, I should wear this. If I'm working with someone, I say, based on your skin tone, your hair, this will bring out this feature, that feature. I was doing that uh, naturally, but then there's also a direct science to that. And interesting enough, this is a science that's been around. I think Galileo came out with that in the 1600s. So not a new concept, just not as well known, not as well practiced. Shout out to Ferial. I mean, she's a pioneer in that industry, in that space. So very happy to be learning and adding that to my repertoire. All right, let's see what else we got. Speaking of which, what will you be offering any new services? Yes, I will. Stay tuned for that. Hint, hint. I did give you a clue about the color analysis, so that's going to be coming shortly. But we're going to be adding some other things as well too. As I learn more, as I do more things, I'm going to be able to add value and serve you more so as well too. So definitely stay tuned for that. We're going to be doing a lot of upgrades, a lot of changes as well too. So feel free if you want to come on in here, get your questions answered. Make sure you hit the like button as you come in as well too. Let's see what else we have here. All right. People like LeBron and others are creating dolls. I guess they're asking me what my thoughts on that. I mean, again, I've never been one to collect those type of things, and I don't know who the market is for that. But I do see some people online creating some funny ones. Like I've seen people like, "Oh, I'm a realtor," and they create their own thing for branding and fun. I mean, I think it's a creative way to do some things, but I'm not sure about people who collect dolls like that. I'm sure there are people who do that who do that. To me, it's more of a showpiece or a fun piece. But again, if you're passionate about collecting and you want one of those, then go ahead and go get one. All right, let's see here. Okay, we got a good question here. All right, what types of materials and fabrics are good and warm for summer? I would say natural fabrics, depending on the type of climate that you're in. You may need some because it may rain or be humid in your area, but natural fabrics. So linen is good because it's very breathable. The one challenge with linen is it will wrinkle very quickly, so possibly get a blend with either that or with cotton or wool. Silk is also good as well too, not very durable, but also very cool, very breathable as well too. Those two are the main ones. And then again, I like bamboo because it's very breathable, hypoallergenic, and a very versatile fragrance. Excuse me, not fragrance, versatile fabric. I got fragrance on the brain. So a very versatile fabric. So definitely look at those type of things. I always try, and that's just for outerwear. And then if you're talking about dresses and other outfits, again, you want to look at what do you want to do? Do you want to maintain shape? Do you want it to flow? All these type of things that you consider. That's part of the in-depth analysis of fabric. So yeah, that is that. Let's see, we rolling along. Um, and then someone, okay, this is a follow-up question. How do I know what colors are good for me? I touched on it briefly earlier. A color analysis, and you know, this is something that's really really major because some people say, "Oh, I can't wear blue. I don't like blue. I don't like green." It could be the shade of it, right? Because there is a full spectrum. Like for example, you may have the Cowboys color blue, and then you have Carolina blue. Same, it's blue, but it's different shades, different tones. So if you're trying to figure out what's good for you, I would say invest in a color analysis, which your sex concierge will be doing. Because getting the right colors that makes you be confident in every item that you have in your wardrobe. You will feel 100% confident because you know it goes good with you and it's going to be well put together, well matched. I know there's ladies out here who do makeup and do other type of things as well too, but it's going to save you for getting the right type because trial and error with anything can be very very expensive. So I recommend you invest in a good color analysis. Hint hint clue clue. Your success concierge can get you taken care of that. But that's definitely something that you want to invest in and look at because it's going to save you so much money as well too. And then this one, okay. What impact do you think AI will have on the image and fashion industry? Thank you for asking that question. As far as the color analysis, AI is very inconsistent on that, just because it can't see certain things and that the human eye sees based on light shade, and then also too your style, personality, your energy, and your emotional, your disposition, right? So AI will make research a lot quicker, a lot faster, a lot simpler for that. I like it for that. I don't think it'll replace individuals. It's just another tool, no different than calculators didn't replace people. It just gave them more computing power, right? So AI will give people more computing power for that. And I just, AI is good as you train it. So it could provide cookie cutter approaches. It could be something that's creative and unique. And then the other thing is what type of prompts are you asking it? All those type of things are important. But one thing I will say, like anything else, it will make research a lot more simplistic, a lot more faster for that. and then just magnify your power. So what I've discovered too with some of them, where they try to, we're going to send you these clothes, that clothes, or whatnot. It has stuff that fits, but again, it may not take into account style, personality, lifestyle, as well as color as well too. So like anything else, it's a good tool, but it does probably require a little bit uh, more expertise as well to enhance the tool. So I always tell people AI is not going to take your job. Someone using AI is going to replace you, not the tool itself. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, yeah, I got another one. Okay. What are your thoughts on the Tory Lanez and Meg Thee Stallion saga? Well, I mean, it's an interesting thing because um, there's things coming out that said what they alleged to have happened didn't actually happen, and someone has been dealing with consequences for that, right? So when there is a final disposition, a final resolution, we'll see what happens on how public perception is for both parties. One thing, justice and accuracy is important. So for that, we hope that that type of information comes out appropriately. But yeah, it's interesting how um, people were Team Tory or Team Meg, and now new information how that is going to affect those individuals. But again, we have people who do a lot of legal reviews and whatnot. So definitely tune into their channels as well. Let's see what we got going on in the chat. See if we have any more questions. Yeah, I mean, thank y'all for tuning in. I'm a little bit under the weather just because um, this is affecting me a little bit, affecting my vision. But we're going to get back right. We're going to get back better. Let's see if we have any questions or whatnot in the chat. All right. Well, we are. I thank y'all. Like I said, I'm doing a lot of things to add value, doing some study, doing some certification, so I can be better at this. That's why we were delayed a little bit in our broadcast time. But I definitely want to make sure I'm coming to you, bringing the fire, bringing the value, helping you get your desired outcomes. But we are going to close out. I am Eric Hall, your success concierge, providing the vision, tools, and opportunity for your desired success. Thank you, and we are done. Good night, everyone.